Good afternoon to all greedy buyer and also greedy seller. This is Wilhelmina Ford. I'm the extension of my seller. I'm based in Australia. This is my virtual home-based office. I'm the one who do the marketing on behalf of Africa. Yes, Africa has a lot of issue. Now this video that I'm going to share to the potential buyer, this video will give you full understanding that gold is not for paying taxes only. Gold is not for CIF, cost insurance, and freight only. This is not. This is cash business, right? You place your order plus government sales tax. That is normal in your country when you do the shopping, when you buy anything, plus government sales tax. Here in Australia, our government sales tax is 10%. Whether we buy groceries, I buy clothes, or I pay my bills, always 10% on top of that. We don't have any issue. Now, this video is for greedy seller and also greedy buyer, so that those potential buyer would stop to think that gold will come to them, and they would stop thinking that I will pay taxes only, bring the gold to my destination. It wouldn't work at all. Now, this is really important information for all sellers and greedy buyers and greedy seller. This is for you, and I want you to understand. Remove that mentality that you are going to pay taxes. The gold will come to Dubai, or gold will come to Germany, or gold will come to Istanbul, or gold will come to Australia. It wouldn't work. Why it wouldn't work? This is precious mineral you're buying. You're buying money to make money. It needs an export documentation, and it needs a certificate of clearance, and it needs custom clearance, and it needs the ECOWAS certificate, and it needs a child labor certificate coming from the seller that his gold is not coming from the child labor. The full corporate offer is everywhere on my YouTube channel and on my Facebook. Greedy buyer, you are excited because you were being offered undervalue. Now let's talk about this greedy buyer and also greedy seller. I am very blunt because every day I receive a sad story. This greedy buyer, they come to me last year. They were talking about they want to purchase gold. They are based in Dubai. They're big company, etc., etc., etc. So I interviewed this greedy buyer last year, and they went to Sierra Leone, they went to Ghana, they went to Mali, they went to Conakry. Failure, 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 failure. Why they failed? Because they knows that gold is not for tax only. They knows that you have to pay the gold plus valued added tax. They knew it. They are businessmen in Dubai. They knew it. But this shortened the journey because they were being offered by a greedy seller to pay taxes. The buyer flew to Conakry, and they meet the buyer, and they meet the exporter. So, for short, the other day, I sent the vital information by random to all contacts of Wilhelmina to inform them, because I always update the price of gold every day in order for them to know about the pricing of gold. What happened? The husband and wife was not really very happy to deal with the seller on the country that I mentioned: Ghana, Mali, Sierra Leone, and Conakry. Right. So this husband and wife is really very angry because the gold didn't arrive. And he ordered 5 kilos only. The 5 kilos worth $500,000. So what did this buyer from Dubai? He flew to Conakry. And the wife said, well, Amina, we don't trust Africa anymore because we were being duped. So I asked the wife, what happened to this to your husband? Oh, my husband went to Sierra Leone, we were being duped. We went to Conakry, we were being duped. We went to Ghana, we were being duped. Okay, so I listened to the wife's conversation. So because I always inform my contract by random, I update information. The wife responded to my random information that I provide every contract that I have. So the wife says, well, my husband is angry. And whose fault is that? Why your husband is angry? Whose fault is that? Not me. Because you were talking to Wilhelmina last year. And I told you that gold is not for credit. Gold is money. You're buying money to make money. And our selling price is less 8%. So you get the profit, but you need to follow the government rules and regulation. Now let's talk about this greedy buyer from Dubai. Whoever you are, whether you are greedy from Istanbul, greedy from Germany, greedy from Hong Kong, greedy from Malaysia, greedy from Australia, you are all greedy. Why I say that you are greedy? You did not follow the golden rules of the country. You did not follow the rules and regulations of the country. You want to shorten because of profit. For me, you are greedy and selfish. Yes, you are. So going back to this greedy buyer from Dubai, the wife provided me the informations of the greedy seller. So when I look at the greedy seller's business card, so I make an effort in order for me to find out so that I could share it to the world why this greedy buyer was really hungry. So to me, he is greedy and naive. But anyway, so when I call this greedy seller in Conakry, because my seller would not pay taxes only. He wouldn't. I have a seller in Sierra Leone. I have the seller in Mali. I have the seller in Conakry. I am the extension of the seller. I am the one who interview you. I'm the one who will validate you. Now this buyer, I validated his wife last year. His wife is a very nice lady. That they are really big buyer. They are. But what happened? This greedy husband, he was being offered, or greedy wife, both husband and wife, they were being offered. I don't know how much they were being offered. I don't have any idea. But this buyer is really a good buyer to deal with. But this greedy seller, he shortened as well the journey. He shortened the business. So what happened to this greedy buyer? I called him greedy. So the gold has been at the exporter's office because the exporter has the facility. So when the wife show me who is the seller, and I make an effort to call the seller. So I forwarded all the frustrations of the greedy buyer to the seller in order for him to know that this buyer came to Wilhelmina, but this buyer didn't buy gold from us. He didn't. He only got the information from me because they search on my YouTube. They read the full corporate offer, but they shorten the journey. So what happened? They come back to Wilhelmina because I updated the wife that this is now the price of gold for the day. The price of gold was 65. So the wife was surprised. Wow, Wilhelmina, the price of gold is getting higher. I said, yes. So the wife start to share their frustration. So for short, I called the seller in Conakry and in Sierra Leone to find out what happened to this buyer in Dubai. Why they were being duped. Why they were being deceived. And I refrain using the word scam because you are deceiving yourself. You allow yourself to be deceived, and the seller deceive you because the seller is hungry to sell and you is hungry to buy whatever the seller offer you because of profit. What happened at the end of the day? You did not get the gold. Now, the seller, he called me last night because I sent him all the information, what happened to this buyer, why the buyer is angry, and why he didn't get the gold. So the seller says, I am not the owner of the gold. They come to my office, they taste the gold because I have the facilities. On tasting facility, I am the exporter. Mhm. So, the owner of the gold is from Sierra Leone. He brought the gold from Sierra Leone to Conakry by driving border to border. Why? That seller have no license to export. So that seller is looking for the exporter to process the paperwork. So when the exporter explained to me last night, they said, well, Amina, yes, they come to my office. They use my facilities. The buyer only pay the tax, the export tax, which is 3% according to the the exporter. Then I asked the exporter, what happened to the gold? The owner of the gold didn't ship the gold to Dubai because the buyer did not pay the whole amount of gold. And I told the exporter why the seller, the owner of the gold, agreed to the buyer paying the taxes, right? That the tax in Conakry is 6.5, so the buyer only pay $3,000 on the export fee using his license, right? So $3,000 only. What happened to the rest of the 6.5 government sales tax? What happened? So the buyer believed to the seller who owned the gold. So the buyer flew back to Dubai expecting the gold to arrive, and the gold didn't arrive. So the exporter was saying to me, the owner of the gold did not ship it because they wanted the buyer to pay the whole amount. And I told the exporter, you should assist the seller, the owner of the gold, and the buyer to understand that the gold cannot leave Conakry unless there is a receipt of cash inflow payment bank to bank. And there wasn't. So, the husband was really arrogant. He was agreed to me. He should not be arrogant to Wilhelmina because they didn't buy gold from us. They didn't. I just want to assist them to find out as well so that I could share it to the world that please, greedy buyer, whoever you are, you cannot get the gold cost insurance and freight only. That is impossible. Gold is money you are buying. You are buying money to make money. Why are you doing that, greedy buyer and greedy seller? I call you greedy because of profit. You will only get the profit when you follow the golden rules of the country. Now, so I found out to this exporter because I know Conakry. I travel in and out 5 times or 6 times already since 2019. I only travel to Sierra Leone, I only travel to Mali, I only travel to Conakry when the buyer follow the golden rules of the country. I put everything on every video, but the greedy buyer, they wanted to shorten the journey. What happened? They encounter disaster. Now they're gonna say, oh, I don't trust Africa. Don't, because your business would not function. Because Dubai, the main gold supply coming from Africa. So don't. If you are angry to African, it is your fault. Why? You let yourself deceive because of discount. You let the buyer deceive you because the buyer is hungry to sell and you're hungry to buy because you wanted to get more profit. You're a businessman, Mr. Buyer. If you're watching this video, you are a businessman. You should know the nature of business. Do you think if you have the gold, you can give it to Wilhelmina? I'll pay taxes? I don't think so. You will give it to me. You would not give it to me. I'm sure, 100%. I walk into Gold Sock. I purchased 3 necklaces for my loved one. Do you think the owner of the shop will allow me to give the 3 necklaces for not paying in full? There is a VAT. I was being charged 5% value the added tax. And you, greedy buyer from Dubai, you think you can get the gold because you were being offered. You did not deal with Wilhelmina. Your wife was talking to Wilhelmina last year. And I interviewed you. You qualified, but you didn't follow the golden rules. You shortened the journey. You were being offered. You went to Africa. And what happened? You bounced back to Wilhelmina. What happened? You come back to Wilhelmina. So now I'm sharing this to all greedy buyer and greedy seller. You should not do this, Mr. Seller. You should not. When you make a transaction, when you have a discussion, you have to keep your words. But Mr. Greedy Buyer, African seller, would not keep their bloody words. They don't. They're gonna say, no problem, no problem. Expect that because at the end of the day, there would be a problem. To me, I know the nature of African mentality. It doesn't matter if he is my seller or not. A minute that the seller will say no problem, a minute that the seller will say, thank God, thank to Allah, expect a problem. Yes? I always tell my seller, refrain using Allah because Allah is already dead. This is business. Refrain using no problem. You're going to tell the buyer, we will do it. We will deliver. You pay the gold. We will provide you export documentation. The export documentation is already on this video. Every video, the full corporate offer is on every video. A minute the seller say, oh, Assalamualaikum, thank to Allah, I don't want to hear that. Because Allah is already dead. Don't use Allah. Because Allah cannot help you. You as the greedy seller, you need to make an effort to service the greedy buyer. That is the reason why you have a difficulty getting buyer, Mr. Greedy Seller. I call you greedy seller. Why? Because you are greedy. You are. You say, okay, pay taxes, and then when the buyer pay the tax, and then you don't give the gold and you didn't ship the gold. And then after that, you change your word. You have no etiquette, greedy seller. You don't have. You keep your words. You want to sell it. The buyer that you're dealing is a good buyer. I know because I interviewed this buyer, but this greedy buyer didn't come to me. He didn't. The husband or wife didn't come to me. They go behind my back. What happened? Both of you was tralala. Why? I called you greedy. Right, I explained on my YouTube channel our selling price less 8%. The full corporate offer is on every video in front of you. But did you not read? The wife was talking to me last year. I explained to her, I summarized. Still, they didn't get it. What they did, they were being offered to pay taxes. They travel. What happened? Did the gold came? No. Why? Because the gold cannot leave the country of origin without full export documentation. Full. Now, you're going to say, well, Amina, what is the full corporate offer? You went to school, you should understand that. You went to school, you should read it. The full corporate offer is on this video. All my video, the full corporate offer is well extensive, well explained. Very well explained. What you get when you travel to take the gold out of the country. You get the commercial invoice, you get the certificate of origin, and you get the certificate of ownership, export license permit number, airway bill, an asset report, and if you buy gold in Sierra Leone, you get the certificate of clearance of asset report from GGO. And if you buy gold from Mali, exactly the same. You get the certificate of ASI from DNGM. And then in Conakry, you will get the certificate of ASI from the local refinery, either in central bank or the laboratory, and so forth. It is in here. You need to, the seller has to provide ECOWAS certificate because Conakry is an ECOWAS member. Sierra Leone is an ECOWAS member. Conakry and Mali is an ECOWAS member. Ghana is an ECOWAS member. When you take the gold out of the country, the custom will say, where is all the receipt? Where are the cash inflow receipt? It is in here, but you didn't follow the golden rules of the country. You will never find a person who put everything online. But you are greedy, Mr. Buyer, and Mr. Seller, you are also greedy. Both of you are greedy. Wilhelmina is very kind. I should not explain. I should not assist this buyer. I should not spend my money to call this seller. He said to me, he is not the owner of the gold. Right. And the exporter explained to me, Madam, I only taste the gold. They are using my premises to taste the gold. And I told the seller, but your business card was on the buyer's hand. He said, yes, they are using me. So now I told the exporter, your name has been tarnished because of the stupidity that you allow the seller, the owner of the gold from Sierra Leone, to come to your office to use your export license because the owner of the gold has no export license. So this exporter, he has the license. Right. His job is to prepare the paperwork, but the buyer didn't pay the gold. So how could this exporter to prepare all the paperwork? Mm-hmm. So this is the exporter explained to me. Yes, because I made an effort. I spent long distance. I should not spend any single dollar because you, Mr. Buyer, you are also naive and stupid. And then you come to Wilhelmina, you're going to say, I don't trust Africa. Don't trust Africa. Because to me, you are arrogant. You were talking to me, you're very arrogant. And I summarize, you are naive. You are very rich. You should not cut corner. You're a businessman. You own a big company. You should know that gold, before they arrived in Dubai, you have to show all the documentation. But you were not given an export documentation. You were not. Yes. So what happened? You trust the owner of the gold. I saw the picture. You showed me the picture, right? You trust African seller has no word of honor. Their brain, they are fickle-minded. Yeah, even though my seller, I always tell my seller, make sure that you're gonna deliver. That is the reason why I always say, do not travel without Wilhelmina. And I do charge my services. I already given you what $1 million of information. You are lucky that you read the full corporate offer, and the buyer and the broker and the seller would not explain to you like this. Now what happened, Mr. Greedy Buyer? You lost your money to pay taxes only. The 5 kilos. Right. And you didn't lose $500,000. You didn't? Because the owner of the gold, he kept his gold. That is the value of $500,000. You didn't lose $500,000. You lied to me when I was chatting with you. According to the exporter, you only pay his fee, an export license fee. Right. And the owner of the gold, he kept the gold himself. And when the exporter was asking to the seller what happened, the owner of the gold, what happened, why the gold didn't arrive in Dubai, the owner of the gold response was saying that the buyer did not pay the gold. Right. So the owner of the gold is scared, right? Because you are a stranger. You only meet each other the first time. Mhm. So now I give the answer to to all of you. This is for the greedy buyer and the greedy seller. Don't blame Africa, you blame yourself. Yes, in Africa, there's a lot. There's a lot of greedy seller, there's a lot of liars, there's a lot of deceitful, and you, Mr. Buyer, you think that you can get the gold, you can make a profit. Yes, you can make profit if you pay in full. In fact, this buyer was saying to me, bring 1 kilo, we will split the profit. And I told him, no, I'm not interested because I don't own the gold. The gold belong to the owner. That the gold belong to my seller if you want to buy, but this buyer did not buy from us. I just want to find out what happened to this buyer in Dubai. He's not our buyer. He's not. He go behind my back. The wife go behind my back, and she was talking to me, and the husband was talking to me. Her husband is arrogant. And I told her, the wife, I don't need to convince you, and I don't need to convince your husband. I don't. You read the full corporate offer, then you start to think about it. Because I don't need to convince you. You read it, and if you think that you meet the criteria, then you come back. He didn't, and the wife didn't come back. The husband didn't come back. So whose fault is that? Not me. Not me. I was just helping the wife because the wife is a very nice lady. I let the wife understand that this is money you're buying to make money. Now, to all buyers, I know you have a hard time looking for supply. Wilhelmina is your business facilitator. I know the seller because I've been to Africa. I've been to the office, but the seller is very hard to deal with. It is. And you need to emphasize that you are really a buyer. You need to send me your letter of interest to purchase. Yeah, the wife sent me their business license, and they are real buyer. Yeah, this is the business license, but I'm not going to show it to you. Yeah, this is his registration. Yeah. But this registration is only a piece of paper. Yeah, their wife convinced me that they have a license, and they are trading gold and silver and diamond on unrelated precious metal. Yes, this piece of paper worth $26,000 when you open a company in Dubai, right? So, Mr. Buyer, who's to be blamed? You, because you are greedy. You did not deal with Wilhelmina. Now, at least I contacted the exporter. He did explain to me you did not pay the whole amount. That's the reason. So you did not lose $500,000. You only lose maybe 10,000 or $5,000 because you did pay taxes. Isn't it right? I don't know how much the owner of the gold was telling you. Because when you buy gold from us, I make sure I assist you, and we will give you a really good price. And I asked my head office that we let us wrap up the tax into the price, right? The selling price less 8%, tax included, except you pay the shipping cost, except you insure the gold. Is that make sense, greedy buyer? I call you greedy because you are greedy. I met a guy from Holland. They met me in Jibora Hotel. He went to Sierra Leone. What happened? Disaster. I met a German. Every day he come to Holiday Inn. Disaster. I met American guy. And he been talking to me for a year. He went to Sierra Leone. What happened? Disaster. Right. Everybody knows me. They don't want to deal with Wilhelmina because their eyes is bigger than a dollar. To me, you're really greedy. A greedy person always encounter disaster. Always. To those future buyer, don't be greedy. You pay because this is money. This is the world asset you're buying. Gold will not give it to you for nothing. You pay the gold plus government sales tax. Most of you, most of the greedy buyer, I want to buy gold. CIF cost insurance and freight only. I want to buy gold is BLC, is standard letter of credit. African doesn't deal with the standard letter of credit. This is cash business. Why Australian mining company is in Africa? Why Russian is in Africa buying gold? Why Holland or Switzerland, big company, they are in Africa buying precious mineral to bring it to Switzerland and refine it to make into gold bullion. And you, Mr. Greedy Buyer, I do understand that you need this precious metal, but you are greedy. You are. Why I call you greedy? Because you did not pay the gold. Gold is money. Don't you know when the owner of the mine touch the soil, it costs money to rent the excavator, to hire the worker, and then you ask the owner of the gold to pay taxes? No, I don't think so. The real seller would not ask you to pay taxes. The real seller is the gold, takes the gold, transfer the payment bank to bank so that the cash inflow receipt will be shown to the government that he is going to export to a greedy buyer. Does that make sense, Mr. Greedy Buyer? I call you greedy. Why? Because you are greedy. That's the reason why. Most of you are greedy. Most. Oh, I want to buy CIF. To me, when you mention CIF, cost, insurance, and freight, to me, you are selfish and greedy. Why? You don't have cash. This buyer in Dubai, I know them. I validate them. They have a big office, but I wonder why they were being carried away. I wonder why they allow this big buyer. They own the business. They have hotel. They are real estate. But I wonder why this buyer allow himself to be deceived. Why he allow himself to deceive himself? Very simple. That is the reason why when I interview any one of you, I always record it, because when I go back to my file, I can recall what my conversation with the buyer. Now, the answer is the buyer didn't pay the gold. This is what I gathered from the exporter. Madam, the buyer is a big buyer, but he didn't pay the gold. He only pay taxes, I don't know. But the exporter says the buyer pay his export license fee only. But the owner of the gold, he keep it. He didn't ship it to Dubai because the owner of the gold, according to the exporter, didn't want to ship it because they need the money. So that the greedy seller, he should tell the buyer, okay, pay me 50%, we will ship it. Yes, so that the exporter can prepare the documentation. But the ignorant seller as well didn't tell the buyer, so both of them have a problem. So I'm just sharing this so that I could share it on my platform and the future buyer would be aware. Please, future buyer, do not cut corner. I'm telling you, you're gonna be like this buyer. He traveled to Conakry, they traveled to Ghana, failure after failure. They went to Sierra Leone, failure, because they were being offered to pay taxes. Don't. You pay the gold plus taxes, plus government sales tax. It's on here, Mr. Buyer. When you go to Mali, the government sales tax is 7%. It is the requirement that the buyer to pay the products plus sales tax, rate tax charged to a consumer based on the purchase of the certain goods and services. The benchmark we use for the sales tax rate refer to the highest rate revenue from the sales tax rate are important source of income of the government in Mali, Conakry, Sierra Leone, Ghana, Tanzania, Kampala, Nairobi, Congo. They are all the same. But you guys wanted to cut corner. Now, you're gonna say, well, Amina, what is the tax of Conakry? It is in here, in front of you. You just scroll down, read it. Don't trust because I'm not convincing you to get the gold from us unless you come to Wilhelmina for interview because I'm going to ask you how did you found Wilhelmina. Wilhelmina, I searched on YouTube and then did you read it? Not really. Go back and read again. Because when you come back to Wilhelmina, I require you to submit your business registration, importation license, your passport copy, your proof of fund. Do you have $500,000? Do you have $1,000,000, the value of your order? Without that, I wouldn't believe it. You're just fishing around. That's all what you do. Every video, the full corporate offer is on here. If you cannot comprehend, maybe you didn't go to school. But I don't think so. You went to school, right? That's why you have a company. So I am insulting you? Yes, I am. I am insulting your ego. Because your ego is too big and your ego is greedy. Yes, that's the reason why. I am very brutal and frank. Why? This is for you, Mr. Greedy. Mr. Greedy buyer. Now, this is a lesson for you. Don't worry, when I come to Dubai, I will contact you. And you're going to say, I will not feed the African. No, African didn't ask you. Maybe you offer for food. And I told the wife, don't worry, when I come to Africa, I'll stop over in Dubai. I will buy your husband a coffee or dinner. The husband owned a restaurant in Dubai. So this greedy seller, they lose this greedy buyer. And I know this buyer because I was talking to the wife, but they didn't come back to me. They didn't. They go somewhere else. They go to other seller. Yes, the husband is very arrogant. And the husband says, this is nonsense. No, I don't talk nonsense. You do. I don't talk nonsense. The seller hired Wilhelmina. I was the one who introduced this. I used to be on real estate. I introduced this because I want to refine, to remove the stigma. The more you guys, when the seller offer you cheap price, your eyes is bigger than $1. You should not do that. You're going to say, oh, I'm buying gold. Yes. Do I have to get the profit? Yes, you will get the profit. You are going to refine the gold. You're going to sell it to the refinery. And this buyer mentioned the refinery name. I know the owner of the refinery. He signed a contract with us 2012. He didn't perform. He's always asking CIF, what happened? No one will deal with this refinery. I know when the wife mentioned to me and the husband, and I know this refinery, but I don't need to mention this refinery. I don't need it. I don't need to mention. I know the owner. He's a Pumi. He has an office in Dubai. Even in Mali, there is an office of Marina in Dubai. I met the nephew of Marina. I got their motives. The nephew was saying to me, Madam, bring the gold to Dubai. We will sell it 2%. We will split the commission. I said, no, I'm not interested. You have Marina Refinery and they wanted to get the buyer, right? And he asked me, tell the buyer, if you have the buyer, put the money in our bank account. We will supply the gold. Marina has no gold. Marina has a refinery. Yes, I meet the nephew of Marina in Dubai. We have a very good dinner. They have an office. Mr. Greedy Buyer, if you want to buy gold, you talk to Marina. Buy gold to Marina. 2%. We give you 8%. So which one you like? So anyway, Mr. Greedy Buyer, I feel sorry for you But I'm not going to say sorry because you did not buy gold from us. You should ask yourself, what I have done? Why allow myself to be deceived? You're smart. You become multimillionaire. You have business, but this gold business is a very tricky business. Yes, very. If you're not very careful. Well, I mean, I've been in marketing for 36 years, buying and selling exactly the same. You pay for it, and there is an export contract. We need to have a contract before we issue the landing visa. Thank you very much. I share this to the world, to all greedy seller and greedy buyer. Please don't shortcut the journey. Thank you very much. Have a pleasant good morning to you and good afternoon here.